domain. What is work group and domain? Previous batches, previous last 2-3 batches, I didn't get a time to explain all this kind of stuff. Now I'm getting I am getting little time. That to this week, that to 2-3 days only. Tomorrow max, tomorrow or day after tomorrow maximum. Okay, so we have to complete all the small topics. So compulsory go through all technical part, guys. What are we discuss? Please go through once. If you feel anything is missing, anything is in need, please tell me. Just put it in your WhatsApp group by tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. So I will get an idea. Okay. Any points are missing, please tell me. So this is work group and domain, guys. What is a work group? So again, so here I have to write a one thing. Okay. So these are computers. For example, you have a computer in the network. So it's a representation of network. Computers in the network is like this. So these are the devices are connected in the network. Each device having their own name, right? For example, it is a PCA, PCB, PCC, PCD. So each computer having their own name. All our individual PCs, guys, including my computer itself, I'm in a work group PC only. All individual PCs are in a work group only. You see, I'm going to settings, systems, go to about, go to advanced system, rename this PC. Okay, rename this PC advanced, rename this PC advanced. You can see I am in a work group. I am in a work group. So I'm going to click on change. See, I'm in a work group. Member of work group name is work group. My work group name is work group. I'm a member of work group. Name is work group. If I'm in a domain, then it will shows member of domain name like this. Okay. So this is work group name is work group. First one. Okay. So each individual PCs are in a work group only. Either their work group name can be work group or different name. All individual PCs. Your computer, my laptop, your laptop, everything is in the work group only by default. Okay. Every computer has its own name like that. Every computer has their own user is also there. Okay. In this one, I've taken one example here. Look at here. I have a PC1, PC2, PC3, PC4, PC5. So different users are there. Like a PC1 user is a local user. The local user is Akash. The Akash is a local administrator of PC1. Meaning is Akash user can able to install applications, can able to change settings, can install applications, can give permissions, can change permission. So who is can able to do all these things? Administrator. So Akash is a local administrator of PC1. Kirti is a local user and local administrator of PC2. Same goes for Deepak is local user in a PC3. Mansi is user in a PC4. Arvaj is in a PC5. Okay. So these are the things. So PC1 is managed by Akash, PC2 is managed by Kirti, PC3 is managed by Deepak. It goes on. Okay, guys. Akash can able to change settings, can able to install applications, can able to uninstall application, can able to give permission for other users to access kind of stuff. But Akash cannot manage PC2. Akash user and user information occurs user information occurs user password occurs profile data stored in PC1 only. Okay, so Akash username and password is stored in PC1. When Akash is login to PC1, PC1 authenticates Akash. So authentication means verification of identity, like a verification of username and password verified by PC1. Same, Kirti authentication done by PC2. So Kirti username password stored in PC2, PC2 authenticate Kirti. Same goes for PC3. PC3 Deepak username and password stored in PC3. So PC3 will authenticate Deepak with password. Okay. But Akash is trying to log into PC2. So PC2 tell, I don't know who are you. Why? PC2 does not contain Akash username and password. PC2, Akash is trying to change settings in the PC3. He cannot do it. Why? Because of Akash is a user in the PC1, not in a PC3, not even an administrator of PC3. Right? So it is a individual users, individual PCs. So here it is. What is a workgroup? Workgroup is a decentralized administration. Workgroup is a decentralized administration. So no centralized control. Every PC or a system has their own administrator. Every PC, okay, or a system has their own administrator, that is a local administrator. One PC user cannot log into other PC. One PC user cannot log into another PC. User and password settings information stored in their own PCs. PC1, user informations, password informations, their settings, their profile data stored in PC1 only, right? So it is not stored in central, right? So we can control or manage these systems or PCs individually. So you have to do certain settings. There is a 10 computers are there. So you have to go to do certain settings in the 10 computers. You have to go to each and every computer and you have to do the settings. Right? In an organization, so it can be a 10 computers or 20 computers or 30 computers. So what is the difference between 10 computers to 30 computers? You have to go to 30 computers means more burden on an administrator. You have a 300 computers. It is very difficult to go to each and every computer to set the settings, right? To modify the settings. Guys, look at here. I will tell us few points. Look at my desktop. It is contain lot of data, lot of icons on it. So because of my work group, I cannot be controlled. Okay, I cannot be controlled centrally. I have to control individually. So my administrator, office administrator has to come to every PC, go to each and every desktop, then tell, so you should not keep all this data on your desktop. So he will create a one folder, copy all the data into one folder and move into some different place. Okay, he remove these icons on the system, only useful icons only given. And not only my system, there is a 300 or 400 computers are there. He has to go to each and every PC to do these settings. Maybe he has to do some network related settings, firewall related settings. He has to go to each and every PC to do these settings. So he can manage individually, cannot manage centrally because of we are in the work group. So more number of systems or PCs are increases, what happened? It's difficult to manage also. Guys, understand what is the work group? We are all in the work group only.
Yes, sir.
Good. Next one is domain. What is this domain? The domain is a centralized administration, whereas work group is a decentralized administration. We have a centralized controller that is called a domain controller, which is nothing but a server. Okay, it's a nothing but a server. So I will show you that environment also like this. I have a 6 computers in my network plus one server. C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 computers are joined into the domain. How they can able to join into the domain, I will tell. So here it is difficult to show you guys because of mine is a Windows 10 home plus I don't have any domain. Live domains are not there for me. Okay, so you can see how to join into the domain. I have my computer is joining, already is a member of work group like that. So what I have to do, I have to select this domain. Can you see this is member of domain? You have to select and give the domain name. What domain name it is implemented in your network? Okay, what domain name it is, which is implemented in your network, that domain name. Click OK. Then it will ask for authentication. Once authentication is done, so you will be member of domain. Your computer is a member of domain and you have to restart, then you are a member of domain. Like that, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 computers are joined into the domain. C6 is not joined. So can you see here C1 name, C2 name, C3 name, C4 name, C5 name is there. And I make a one resource like a P1 is a printer is also joined into the domain. Okay, what is this, guys? Your domain controller, which is a server maintaining a database. Okay, your server, okay, your domain controller maintaining a database. What is the database name? NTDS.DIT. What is the content in the database? Database means it contains some information, right? The devices which is joined into the domain, that device informations, resource information like a printer, scanner kind of stuff, anything joined into the domain. User informations, you create a users in this domain. So to become a domain users, you'll create a users in the domain. Okay, so these users are a domain users, their information also in the database only. Group information, user information, group information, computer information, resources information, service information stored in this database. Okay, so guys, again, this is the server. It is a centralized server. Of course, it is a server. We call it as a domain controller. Okay, domain controller. The domain controller contains a database which this database contains information about users, groups, computers, resources, and services of a domain. So the users in the domain called a domain users, computers, those who join into the domain, that is a domain computers, like that. Okay. So user information, username, password stores in a domain controller. So user 1, my user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4. These users, user information and their password information is stored in the database. Okay, in the domain controller only. Computers, those who joined into the domain, their information also stored in this database only. Okay, so these computers called as a domain computers. Users, this user 1, user 2, those who are created and their information stored in the database, which is we call it as the users, we call it as a domain users. You know, earlier we said this Akash cannot be logged into PC2, PC3, PC4. But here it is not like that. User 1 can able to log into C1 or C2, C3, C4 or C5. Same way user 2, user 3, user 4 can able to log into any of the device in the domain. So user cannot log into, these users cannot log into C6. Why? C6 is not in the domain. So the domain users cannot log into devices which is not in our domain. So your limitation is this one only. So if it is outside of your domain, so you don't have any rights on it. And there is a administrator accounts are there in this database in domain controller. There is admin accounts or administrator accounts are there. So these accounts, these administrators are the admin for entire your domain environment. So they can access everywhere. So centralized administration. The last one is, guys, user 1 is login to C1. User 1 is trying to log into C1, but C1 do not have information about user 1. Who is having information about C1 is a domain controller. The domain controller having information about user 1 and user 1 passwords. So when user 1 trying to log into C1, the request is go to domain controller for authentication. So your domain controller authenticate users when they log into systems or when they log into network, when they log into a computer in the domain. Okay, so what it is your domain controller is doing, domain controller store information about users, groups, computers and resources and services. When user is trying to log into a computer, okay, so domain controller authenticates user. Centralized authentication. So this is about your work group and domain. Guys, what is a work group and domain? Again, domain, work group part completed, right? So domain, centralized administration, centralized controller called a domain controller, which is nothing but a server. Domain administrator is admin for all system in the domain. Domain user can log into any domain computer. Domain user can log into any domain computer. Okay, so a user is logged into a domain computer. A domain user is logged into a domain computer. So the request for authentication is sent to domain controller. Domain controller authenticate user because of domain user information, their password information stored in domain controller only. So it will send authentication to the domain controller authenticate users, so then user can able to access that domain computer. You see so many words are there. Okay, so domain user, domain computer. So domain user, a user is want to log in a computer, but both are in the domain environment. So what happened? User, so when you're trying to log into a computer, domain computer, the request sent to the domain controller. Domain controller verifies user information and their password information. If it is okay, then it will tell, so yes, you can able to log in. Okay, guys, again, domain controller maintaining a database called add to directory database. So already we discussed, right? Domain controller is a server just having a database. The database is called a Active Directory database. The name of Active Directory database is NTDS.DIT. What is this contain? What is this database contains? User, computer, group, services, and resource information stored in centralized system or centralized server, which is nothing but our domain controller. Okay, the domain controller's database, Active Directory database contains user information, computer information, group information, service and resource information also. As earlier I said, guys, you have to go to each and every PC to do certain settings. It is very difficult if it is a large number of devices are there. But in a domain environment, what is the solution for that one? For example, I have a 10 computers. I want to do certain settings in the 10 computers. You can go to 10 computers and you can do the settings. No problem. But you have 100 computers, 200 computers, 300 computers. You have to do a setting in all these computers. It is very difficult. It is very difficult. So how to do it? It is group policy. I will create a group policy. In this group policy, I will indicate what settings what settings must be configured in a devices. So I'll create a group policy. I'll push this group policy to every device. So using this group policy in the domain environment, in the group policy, using group policy, I'm enforcing certain settings. For example, there is a 300 computers are there. All should require some firewall setting. I cannot go to 300 computers one by one to do the settings. It is very difficult and needed permissions from individual users. But in domain environment, I created a group policy. The group policy is linked to these 300 computers, and automatically when these computers these policies automatically go to the individual. What I am trying to say. Yeah. What are the settings you mentioned in the group policy is applied to all 300 computers. Enforce various type of settings to large number of users and computers in the domain using group policies. What is group policy, guys? You can enforce various type of settings: network related settings, desktop related settings, application related settings, folder redirection kind of settings. Okay, there's a different type of settings you can able to enforce to the large number of users and computers in the domain. That is called a group policies. Okay, this is what I am trying to say about a domain, guys. So most regular question, people who knows network or server, they must know this one also. Workgroup and domain. So workgroup is a decentralized administration. Domain is a centralized administration. Workgroup do not have any centralized controller, no centralized control, whereas a domain centralized controller is there. That is called domain controller, which is nothing but a server. In Workgroup, every PC has their own local administrator. Okay, and every PC having their own local administrator is there. In domain, so all devices, all systems are having a centralized administrator. Domain administrator is a administrator for all. Domain administrator account is administrator for all in the domain. All systems in the domain are for all in the domain. Okay, one PC user cannot log into other PC in the work group, whereas in a domain, a user in the domain user can log into any domain computer. A domain user can log into any domain computer. Okay, the passwords, user information, user password information, settings stored in their own computer in the work group, whereas in the domain, so entire user information, group information, computer information, services, and resource information stored in a centralized server, which is nothing but your domain controller. And where it will store in the database, that is called Active Directory database. The file name is NTDS.DIT. NTDS.DIT is the file name of database. Okay. Can control. So in workgroup, we have to manage individually. We cannot manage centrally. Okay. If you have a large number of devices, it is difficult to manage. But here in the domain, we use a group policy to enforce. We use a group policies to enforce various type of settings to large number of users and computers in the domain. So this is work group and domain, guys. Do you understand anything? At least few points about the work group and domain. Okay, this is the thing which is I showed already. Okay, so if you go to see, there is a work group and domain. So member of work group. Are you member of work group or are you member of a domain? Guys, are you okay up to work group and domain?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay, so here additional point. Once I told this one, so we can take a small break and I will tell about DHCP and DNS in a basic point wise only. Okay, this is a same point only in a domain point only, guys. When you search in a Google, so always search in about a Active Directory domain. So don't type domain in a Google. Why? Because of you will get a lot of different type of answers from Google. Okay. So if you are giving a wrong answer at interview by searching in Google, that is big problem. So you can try to search as per our group and domain and about a domain mainly. Okay. So separate domain or Active Directory. So Active Directory domain or a AD domain. What is this domain? Domain is a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. You can see C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 and a printer P1 which is a resource and a server A all are belongs to a domain called a contesto.com domain. Whereas C6 is in the same network but it is not in your domain. So who is a member of your domain will get a domain policies, domain rules, domain authentication kind of stuff. Outside people are outside people. A logical administrative boundary of users and computers. Okay. So Active Directory domain is a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. Okay. So what is this Active Directory? Anyone got a question like what is an Active Directory, guys? Compulsory two lines are there. Compulsory two lines. First line is Active Directory database stores. What is Active Directory? Do not have any answer, guys. It is a kind of service. So that is point also I will tell, but original main important points. Active Directory means Active Directory database. Store identity of users, groups, computers, services, and resource information. And Active Directory authenticates users. Active Directory authenticates users and computers when they log into domain or a network, or we can say another way, already I told that one, Active Directory authenticate users when they log into domain computer. Okay, domain computer, when
That
domain
means
user is
it's
logged into
same
a domain
like
computer.
a registry.
Yeah, tell me.
It is acting like a registry editor, like it's storing the data of the user.
No,
Right, sir?
not registry, not registry. When a domain
I'm saying
user
acting like
is,
working like that. It is storing the user's data and all things.
yeah, it is having a database. It is a Active Directory. Is actually a Active Directory. It's a service, Microsoft service. It store data in the database. Okay. So all user information like a username, password, okay, all this kind of stuff, computer information, domain computer information, group information, services, resources, information stored in a database. Where this database is there in a domain controller. So when any user, I created a user in my domain controller. So where it is created in the Active Directory database only. Now that user is trying to log into a domain computer. So domain computer don't know who is this user. So it will send the information to domain controller. So domain controller Active Directory authenticates this user. So it will tell, yes, this user is there and this is the password, correct password only. So it is credentials are authenticated. So user is authenticated. Okay, so that is a 2 points, guys. Active Directory database store identity of users, groups, computers, services, and resources information. And Active Directory authenticates users and computers when they log into domain. Or you can say Active Directory authenticates a user when they log into domain computer. Active Directory authenticates users when they log into domain computer. Like that also you can tell, that is also correct answer. The Active Directory database. What is this Active Directory database? File name is NTDS.DIT, New Technology Directory Service Directory Information Tree. And I already tell Active Directory authenticate users when they log into domain computer, right? So what is the authentication protocol? Kerberos and LDAP are authentication protocols. Kerberos and LDAP are authentication protocol. In Server 2000, this Active Directory concept is introduced. Active Directory name is introduced in a Windows Server 2003. It is also there in a 2000 and 2003. Because Windows Server started with Windows NT servers are there, then 2000 server. In NT server, different names are there, but in 2003 onwards, it is Active Directory. So Active Directory is a Microsoft service from Windows Server 2000. This Active Directory name is changed to ADDS, Active Directory Domain Services, from Windows Server 2008. Because in Windows Server 2008, it is introduced with a totally 5 Active Directory services. Active Directory Domain Services, Active Directory Federation Services, Active Directory Certification Services, Active Directory RMS, Right Management System, Active Directory, the last one is LDAP, like a Lightweight Directory Access Service. Okay. So this is a Active Directory part, guys. There is a Azure AD is also there. The concept Azure AD to know basic point one or 2 points. What is Azure AD? What is Azure? Azure is a Microsoft public cloud. If you cannot able to put yourself in a server, like your organization cannot offer a data centers or a server management, storage management kind of stuff, you can move to cloud, right? So for example, your organization required a Active Directory authentication. So what to do? So we cannot offer our own servers. What we do? So we'll go to Azure. So what is Azure? It is a Microsoft public cloud. In Azure, we'll take a Azure AD services. It is a Active Directory service from Azure cloud. Okay, Windows NT server. Sam, that time Windows NT, then 2000 servers came. Windows NT server time, we call Active Directory database is there now. Now, earlier it is a SAM database. And we are using a Kerberos authentication. Now we are using a Kerberos authentication. You know, that time Windows NT time, we use NTLM authentication time. What is authentication? Verification of identity, like a verification of username and password, that is called authentication. What is the authorization? So once authentication is done, you are giving authorizing to access. Either it is allow or deny or accessing kind of permissions. For example, I am authenticated. Now I want to access printer. For your username or your group do not have a access permission to printer. Okay, so like this. So you are so difference are there. Authentication and authorization. Authentication means verification of identity, like a username and password is correct. Authorization is you should allow this access or not. Allow or deny accessing permissions. Okay, this is about your Active Directory, guys. So one small part I want to tell. A work group and domain, so many are there. But what I'm trying to say, I created a user in a domain and log into a client, and also I created a group policy and I showed to the students. So compulsory, guys. I will try to verify where is that video is there. So server and services. So mostly it is a very old, little old. Complete practical part is there. Yeah, this is the one. Okay. So actually there is a small problem because it is a very big video. You can watch it from after 45 minutes. If you want to watch it from starting also no problem. But starting mostly I am explaining about what is work group and domain. After 45 minutes also work group and domain explanation. But from 45 minutes to end, I explain a lot of things, how to join into the domain, how to create a user in the domain, how to log in with the user in the client PC, how to reset the password, how to handle the resetting password. And also, as I know, I already told about group policies here. Okay, so compulsory. I'm forwarding here to your batch. Okay, so compulsory check it. If you skip first 45 minutes, no problem. So compulsory check it. It's a practical one.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
because theoretically how much we are telling, that much only it is there. Okay, these are the points we should remember, or not like that only it will happen. Okay guys, once more, what is work group and domain? Work group is a individual devices, individual PCs which do not have any centralized control. Every PC is having their own administrator. So one PC user cannot log in or cannot control other PCs. Okay, so users,
Yes, sir.
username, password settings stored in their own PCs. We can manage centrally, but we cannot manage. So we can manage individually. We cannot manage centrally because now centralized administration. More number of PCs are increases, then difficult to manage. Centralized administration. So centralized administration domain is a centralized administration. There is a centralized controller that is nothing but your domain controller, which is nothing but our server. Okay. Domain administrator is an administrator for all systems in the domain. Okay. So domain controller, the domain controller contains a database which contains information about user groups, computers, services, and resource in the database. Okay. So that is called a Active Directory database. And domain user can log into any domain computer which is authenticated that user by domain controller only. Okay. You can enforce various type of settings to large number of users and computers in the domain using group policies. See, in a work group, you have to go to each and every PC to do settings. In domain, you can create a group policy, and using that group policy from server, you can distribute the policy to all other devices. Domain, AD domain. So Active Directory domain means, or a domain means a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. What is this Active Directory? Active Directory database store identity of users, groups, computers, and services and resource information. And Active Directory authenticates users when they log into domain computers. Okay. This Active Directory database name is NTDS.DIT, New Technology Directory Service Directory Information Tree. Authentication protocols we use for Active Directory is Kerberos and LDAP. Okay. Active Directory name came from Windows Server 2000, and it is again changed in an Active Directory Domain Services in 2003 server. Azure AD means Azure is a Microsoft public cloud. Azure AD is an Active Directory services from Azure cloud. Okay, so these are the things we discuss. Now take a break, guys. 10 minutes break. Then we'll discuss about a DHCP DNS point wise.
Okay, sir.
If you are again, some people are missing like yesterday.